So when Nikola Tesla was a second-year engineering student, he attended this one lecture under his professor, Dr. Puschel. Now in this specific lecture that he just walked into, his professor, Dr. Puschel, was going to do a demonstration for the class of a DC generator that could also operate as a DC motor. Now, as the professor just began the demonstration to operate it as a DC motor, there was sparks everywhere, so many complications, and it looked really, really rough in Nikola Tesla's eyes. So seeing this, Nikola Tesla, he raised his hand and he said, there's got to be some sort of possibility that the motor doesn't have to be so complicated and have all of these sparks and be so messy. And the professor immediately countered his argument by just saying that he was wrong. And he continued to make an entire lecture explaining why Nikola Tesla was wrong. And he ended the lecture by saying, Tesla will do many great things. However, this is one that he will not achieve. Something along those lines, at least. And after this incident, Nikola Tesla, he didn't get discouraged, but rather he kept his curiosity. And I think it was almost a decade later, once he was already a professional engineer and inventor, he invented what we use still today, the AC motor, which isn't so complicated, doesn't have any sparks, in fact, and is much better than the motor that was being demonstrated by Dr. Puschel that day. Now, the main lesson here isn't to tell you like, oh, you got to be a great inventor and be so great-minded. No, not at all. But the main lesson here, to think like an engineer, is to have curiosity. Ask questions about everything, not just to anyone, but literally question the world. Be annoyingly curious. Okay, if Nikola Tesla didn't have this curiosity, he wouldn't have questioned the, quite frankly, messy lecture that was taking place in front of him when he was a second-year engineering student. And if he didn't have that curiosity, we wouldn't have the AC electrical power that we have today, which is powering this entire world pretty much. Now, that's a lesson that you have to take. Not just challenge your professors and start beef with them, but just ask questions. Ask why this is done this way, why a specific subject is teaching you a specific concept. Ask anything. Literally, there are endless things that you could ask. So ask them, because that's how you develop as an engineer. That is literally how you learn. So take that advice, because I myself know, as an engineering student and engineering intern, as I learned this lesson from my boss. So at my current internship in the engineering industry right now, I had this one, what we call appraisal, where the boss pretty much critiques you and your behavior as an employee. So after 6 months of working at this internship, I got my first appraisal. And my main critique was that I didn't ask enough questions, which was actually pretty surprising to me, because I thought that I was learning so much and asking sufficient questions, because I was learning a lot, right? I was already making projects, having them fabricated by welders and machinists. I was communicating with a fair amount of people. This is something that I've never been exposed to before. So to hear that I wasn't asking enough questions was pretty surprising to me. But nonetheless, I took the criticism well. And throughout the next 6 months of this internship, I made it sure that I did ask questions, that I wasn't shy, that I wasn't holding back on my curiosity, which is the main lesson here, right? And then after 12 months of working at this internship, so there was the first 6 months, then I had the appraisal, and then another 6 months, which makes the 12 months period of my internship, I got another appraisal, because they happen every 6 months. Now, at this second appraisal, guess what the criticism was this time? It was still that I didn't ask enough questions. So I was like, how is that possible? I'm pretty sure that I like tripled the amount of questions that I asked this time around. And he still had the criticism of, I'm not asking enough questions. And I won't disagree with him. There's some cases where I'm just too lazy to ask a question or something, but I did ask a fair bit amount of questions. And maybe he's just a bad boss for that, or he wasn't paying attention to me or anything. But I do agree that we should all reach that absolute cap which is to infinity of how many questions we should ask. We should always fucking ask infinite amounts of questions, and to the point that we're fucking annoying, like Nikola Tesla here, and how he was so annoying to Dr. Puschel here, to the fact that he had to explain in a lecture to why Nikola Tesla was wrong. But in the end, Nikola Tesla ended up being right, just as a tangent. Now, as you can see, engineering is not only about the technical and the theoretical parts of this world, but if you do want my further advice on the technical side of engineering and focusing as an engineering student and just being a good engineering student in general, check the program linked in the description. I have a few courses in there as of now, and I intend on making some more in the coming months. So go join right now, and I'll see you inside. Lesson 2, do not fear failure. Engineering is all about failure. So if you don't like the concept of being wrong and not succeeding at something on your first try, then engineering is not going to be good for you. At any project, you're going to have endless iteration as what it feels like sometimes. I know I always have iteration in my current internship right now, and you cannot avoid it. It's just the fact of the engineering design process. If you don't know what it is, it's defining the problem, doing research on the problem, brainstorming solutions to the problem, and then prototyping a solution to the problem, and then testing and testing and testing and testing and iterating and iterating and iterating. That is arguably, in my opinion, the most common step in all endeavors of engineering. Okay, so you cannot fear failure at all. You have to embrace it and take it not as a negative, but something that is just another stepping stone to the goal you're trying to achieve as an engineer, to the project that you're working on. All right, so that's the second lesson of how to think like an engineer. Do not fear failure. Lesson number 3, work for humanity. Now, engineers for pretty much all of history has been people that has solved problems. That's what engineers are, problem solvers, right? However, in modern day, I'd argue that there are engineers out there who are actually creating problems. Think about it for a second. There are engineers out there who work on gambling machines that make people addicted and waste their money and therefore go broke. There are engineers out there who design vapes, which teenagers and sometimes children get addicted to. These vapes don't just make themselves. There are engineers out there who studied for 4 years just like you, and who learned all the complex concepts of machinery to make these machines, like gambling machines, vapes. They're engineers that are making all of these degenerate things, right? And these are people, engineers, that I call anti-engineers. They don't solve problems, they actually fucking make problems. And that's something that I want you to watch out for. If you're an engineering student yourself, then you have to make sure that you don't fall into these tempting careers that pay you so well and are going against the morals of that I think an engineer should have. Like, honestly, it's fucking sad to see that engineers who are supposed to be problem solvers going down a path where they're actually making problems. Like, for all of history, engineers have built bridges which have helped humans travel. They've developed airplanes which help humans travel, sustainable forms of energy to make lives for humans easier. And it's something that I can't accept, that there are engineers out there who create problems rather than solve them. So I just feel the deep need to share this message today. That is the 3 lessons that I have to tell you on how to think like a great engineer. Be annoyingly curious, don't fear failure, and work for humanity. These are 3 of the most important things that I can tell you right now. If you're an engineering student, then join the program linked down in the description, where there are people out there who are purposeful about engineering inside of this community and you could connect with. As well as there are courses in there where I teach you how to study, make projects, all these things. And I plan on making another course soon, which will add no cost if you buy it right now, which is about getting internships. And I will be adding more courses. So if you buy right now, no additional charge in the future when I actually do make those courses. All right. Thank you so much for watching and learning how to think like a great engineer. I will see you next time.